Is there an obvious correlation that many people are missing when it comes to why Americans who are younger tend to be making more self-destructive decisions, dropping out of schools and struggling financially and dealing with more mental health issues than ever before, and a worldview attached to that exact paradigm? This is something that has sometimes been discussed about the role that faith plays into these things, and Bill Maher recently made some statements that were ironically and hilariously pointed out by David Wood of some things that he's missing with regards to why it seems like the coming generations are getting dumber and dumber. And the obvious elephant in the room, which was Bill Maher's entire prerogative and agenda to remove God and religion from the youth. So check this clip out from David Wood. It says, America's dumbest generation becoming atheists. Watch this.
Isaac Newton, considered by many to be the greatest scientist of all time, was writing towards the end of the scientific revolution when he recorded an observation that rivaled his 3 laws of motion. Newton declared, "Atheism is so senseless and odious to mankind that it never had many professors."
Oops. So not only do we have David Wood dunking on Bill Maher in this video, we also have Isaac Newton dunking on atheists on this video, or atheism in this video. That's amazing.
How's that for a fat apple falling on your head, atheists? So, according to Newton, atheism is senseless, it's utterly foolish, and odious, it's repulsive. It's so senseless and odious that it never had many professors. But times have changed, because many people today do profess atheism.
Shout out to my guy, Mark Rogers, who's always holding it down in the chat. This is one of the most base things I've heard this man say. He says, we are more free than ever as citizens, and we lead ourselves to bondage. That's it, right? With more freedom comes more freedom to do dumb stuff. And that's kind of where we seem to be with a lot of issues.
How did this happen? Well, if we ask our atheist friends why atheism has been spreading rapidly in our time, they'll tell us that atheism is spreading because people are becoming smarter and wiser and more enlightened. Now, our atheist friends insist that they go where the evidence points. They're all...
Is that true? Does it seem like people are getting smarter and wiser and more enlightened? Or does it seem like they're just regressing by devolving to act like highly evolved animals in heat that just procreate for pleasure, right?
All about evidence. But if we have any respect for evidence and observation and confirmation and reality, and we look around at the world, can we seriously say that people are becoming smarter and wiser and more enlightened? Or would we say that people are becoming a bunch of delusional, narcissistic morons who follow evidence about as much as they follow Newton's Principia? As someone who's been in multiple mental hospitals, I can tell you that the world feels more and more like an insane asylum every single day. But let's see if we can figure this out. Maybe our good friend Bill Maher can help us. Mr. Maher, you're an atheist. You've been attacking God and Jesus and the Bible for decades. You've seen the world change over the years. Can you spot any glaring problems in society?
You know the reason why advertisers in this country love the 18 to 34 demographic? Because it's the most gullible.
The younger generation is characterized by extreme gullibility.
Huh.
Good to know.
Interesting.
A third of people under 35 say they're in favor of abolishing the police, not defunding, but doing away with a police force altogether.
All right, listen, we got to figure this out. I understand that there was an attempt to reallocate some of the funds, but this ain't that, okay? A third of people under 35 want to abolish, like get rid of, like there is no cops. And let me guess, that same third of people also don't want us to have the Second Amendment. I put money on it.
The younger generation is so out of touch with reality that they cling to insane positions.
36% of millennials think it might be a good idea to try communism.
Sounds dumb to me.
20% of Gen Z agree with the statement, society would be better off if all property was owned by the public and managed by the government.
Oh, no. By the way, this whole notion that the Bible was socialistic, the Bible didn't promote anything related to the free market is complete hogwash. You want to know how I know this? You want to know how I know this? Is because one of the core tenets of our current system, unlike in China and in North Korea and in parts of the world, one of the core tenets of our current system is what? Is private property rights. Okay. Now, I'm not saying Jesus was a capitalist. However, one of the core tenets of capitalism is the ability to own land And if you go to other parts of the world like China, they don't have the ability to own land. Even when you buy a house, the state owns all the land and you just lease it from them for a 70-year time span or a 90-year time span, something like that. But you don't actually own the land. Now, when you look at the law of Moses, and one of the big 10 commandments clearly says, do not steal. Do not steal what? If there was no such thing as personal property, you wouldn't be able to take anything, right? On top of which, you see Proverbs repeatedly say, don't move the marker, the property line marker between your neighbors, right? There's a proverb about that. So this whole notion that like private property is a Western American white supremacist concept is just complete hogwash. It's as old as time itself. And you go outside of the West, you go to Ethiopia, you go to Armenia, you go to other parts. They own property. They own land. The government don't own the land. Holy moly. Anyway, sorry.
And another 29% say they don't know if that's a good idea.
Sounds really, really dumb.
Did he say a third think we should try communism and a 29% don't know if that's a bad idea? Yeah.
So when you say you're old, you don't get it. Get what? Abolish the police and the border patrol and capitalism and cancel Lincoln? No, I get it. The problem isn't that I don't get what you're saying or that I'm old. The problem is that your ideas are stupid.
Their ideas are stupid,
all right,
but
Bill
the
Maher?
younger generation is too dumb and gullible to realize it.
Huh.
And Bill points out that this isn't just true of the younger generation. The entire nation has become so utterly moronic that we may not be able to solve the problems that we face.
Finally, new rule, before we tackle any of our daunting specific problems here in America, we have to figure out how a country can solve any problem if so many of its people are so intractably, astoundingly, mind-numbingly stupid.
We might need to just shut it down.
I mean, this country just might be empirically, verifiably too fucking dumb to continue as an ongoing enterprise.
And
it's so funny because the plot twist here is, well, Bill, you spent, the prior part of your career as you're dunking on how stupid the country is. Before this, you dunked on how stupid religious people were. And as religion has decreased, shocker, stupid people have increased.
what about the education system?
This country simply has no education standards anymore. They will let you out of a public high school and give you a diploma, and you don't have to actually know anything.
So we've become ignorant, stupid, and gullible. Anything else going on? Yes. Atheism has been growing so rapidly that Bill Maher wants an atheist holiday.
But while approximately 3 million Americans celebrate Ramadan, 100 million say they have no religion at all. What the f***? Where's our day?
100 million people in the U.S. have no religion at all.
Interesting.
Atheists, we're approaching a third of the population now. I shouldn't have to beg for this, for God's sake.
Come on, Bill. Atheists already have a holiday, April 1st.
The fastest growing religious group in the United States are nuns.
Yeah.
No, not the kind who used to beat you with a ruler for being left-handed.
That's funny.
I mean people who, when asked how much they want to be involved with a religion, say none.
That's interesting. The fastest growing religious group, his words, not mine,
The fastest growing religious group
are the people with no religion at all.
Hello.
are nuns.
Hello.
They're called nuns. What's your religious affiliation? None. How much common sense do you have? None.
The unaffiliated share of the population, consisting of people who describe their religious identity as atheist, agnostic, or nothing in particular, has risen from 5% in 1972 to 15% in 2005 to 32% today. You're welcome.
Okay, so you know the funny part of this is I'm coming across these people, or you just watch these people interact with people that are religious. Here's a extra credit assignment. Watch someone who I actually appreciate, but would identify as like non-religious. Graham Stephan and his co-host, and listen to the way they interact when they sit down with a Patrick Bet-David and interview Patrick Bet-David, or they sit down, or Patrick Bet-David has them on, right? Or watch how they interact with Ben Shapiro, and just sit and gleam and appreciate the practical aspects of faith and what it provides for people. Nuns are more intrigued by faith than ever before. So instead of just being intrigued and trying to pull the positive sides, might as well just come on over and start going to church and see if this whole Jesus thing is real.
So we can thank people like Bill Maher for increasing the percentage of nuns from 5% in 1972 to 32% in 2023. And the numbers get even better for the younger generation.
Millennials are the first generation that are less than a majority Christian. Their idea of hell is a coffee shop with no Wi-Fi.
It's the first generation in U.S. history that's minority Christian.
Yep.
When asked how often they go to church, 34% of younger millennials answered seldom/never or don't know.
Atheists of the world, rejoice. Fewer and fewer young people are going to church, and many of them are so insanely stupid that they don't even know if they go to church.
Darkness.
That must be good news for our atheist friends. Obviously, with so many young people abandoning religion and becoming atheists, that utopia of rationality and science must be right around the corner. That was the promise of the new atheists, wasn't it? If we can just escape the evil talons of Christianity, we'll get a new dawn of intellectual progress and scientific reasoning. Is that what's been happening? Does Bill Maher even hear what he's saying? Watch how easy this is to put together. On the one hand, Bill is boasting about the rise of atheism, the rise of the nuns, the decline of Christianity. Look at all the people who are becoming atheists.
That's right.
On the other hand, he's complaining about how stupid and gullible people have become.
Gotcha.
Look at these gullible morons. They're so dumb, they'll fall for anything. They're so dumb, they want to abolish police altogether. They're so dumb, they think communism is a good idea. They're so dumb, they graduate from high school without knowing anything about the world they live in. They're so dumb, they're becoming atheists at an unprecedented rate. I find this fascinating. Atheists are bragging. They're thumping their chests. They're celebrating because a generation that is characterized by extreme gullibility and extreme ignorance and extreme stupidity, a generation that can be manipulated into believing absolutely anything, no matter how insane, this generation just happens to be the generation that's turning away from Christianity and towards atheism.
Come on.
And the dumber they become, the more progress they think they're making. For most of human history, the options were monotheism or polytheism. Atheism was, as Isaac Newton put it, senseless and odious to mankind. How do you get people to accept something that's senseless and odious? You need a generation that's programmed to accept senseless and odious ideas.
Come on.
Welcome to the idiocracy. I can't say it's what we need, but it's definitely what we deserve.
Sheesh. Man, one time for David Wood. That was brilliant. That was brilliant. I can't wait until the day Bill Maher walks some of this stuff back and goes, you know what? Those religious people were on to something. Those religious people were on to something. I dunked on them. I humiliated them. I strawmanned them. I went to the most fringe, fundamentalist versions instead of having good faith conversations with the scholars and the people who are actual experts in some of this stuff, and instead of showing the robust positions of the spectrum of Christians, I just kind of went to the lowest hanging fruit. Maybe, just maybe, I was wrong in the way I repeatedly and brutally attacked and mocked religion. And this is what we get. You play dumb games, get dumb prizes, right? So I'm not worried about this stuff. But you know why I'm not worried about this stuff? Because the nuns and the lunatics on the far left, guess what they're not doing? Guess what they're not doing? Guess what most of them are not. They're doing some good things. I'm not going to lie to you. They're doing some good things. They're influencing institutions. They're going in hard and getting influence in sorts of the colleges. They're getting influence in the colleges. They're getting influence with the DEEA and all that stuff, right? All those, you know, those things. You know what I'm talking about? The diversity, equity, right? All that stuff. You know what they're not doing? They're not having babies. They're not building businesses. They're not giving to charity. Statistically speaking. Statistically speaking, they're not having babies. They're not building businesses. They're not giving to charity. I mean, look it up. Look up how much AOC and Bernie Sanders have given to charity in their whole lifetime, right? And not much, relatively speaking, right? And so the quote-unquote dumb religious folks tend to be more likely to have more kids, to build more businesses, to give to more charities and do good. And so fast forward this 50 years in the future, I'll be almost 90, probably still looking as handsome as I do now because I work out and drink lots of water and get 8 hours of sleep. And we'll be the dominant voice in America. Now, dominant isn't how you lead. You lead with gentleness, right? Gentleness. I'm working on becoming more gentle. But dominant meaning the majority. Dominant meaning that my kids and my kids' kids are going to be the ones influencing this country for the good. And so I think that's ultimately a dub, personally. We see according to the Bible that prayer is extremely important in terms of us being transformed from the inside out when we get aligned with God's will. For the Christians watching this channel, I want you guys to implement these spiritual disciplines in your day-to-day life. And the only way I've been able to do this consistently is through writing down my prayers in a prayer journal that does a few things. One, it allows me to reflect and come to God humbly and ask Him to move on my behalf. And two, it allows me to document my prayers, which ultimately help me remember the very things that I was praying for and see the hand of God tangibly in my life when He answers them. So I would urge you, consider writing down your prayers. It could be in a blank notebook. It could even be on your phone. Or you could check out the one I personally designed and used from my own quiet time and spiritual discipline that I think will be a huge blessing. It's the exact structure and system that I've used for years to pray and be more consistent in my spiritual disciplines. You can pick yours up today by clicking the link in the pinned comment below. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.